Nobody trusts anybody now. And we're all very tired. Nobody trusts. Nothing else I can do. Just wait. Keep searching for signs of life. Holding on to the will to survive. A semblance of solace in times of distress. A reason, a meaning, a way that I can detect. The hope for a purpose, the way we choose to accept. No mind and no worries, the future we can reject. The future we can reject. Keep on keeping on. Nothing gets easier. We keep moving on. Nothing gets easier. We keep moving on. Keep searching for signs of life. Holding on to the will to survive. Nothing gets easier. But we keep moving on.
You are listening to Evol Radio Live. I'm your host, DJ Darkside. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you tuning in on all the live streams. It is getting a bit complicated out there to be a independent DJ hosting your own show with Facebook now making the standards. It's kind of a double standard, honestly, because if you're a big name artist, well-known DJ or whatever, you can do live streams, but playing other people's music, that's not allowed. So, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook. So hopefully you can check us out on our restream. It's we're on Twitch, social media, Facebook, Instagram Live, / Evol Radio. Find us on Facebook. Go leave some comments about what you think about the music, about the broadcast. Any improvements we can make, I would appreciate. You can tell us what you don't like, leave us some in the comments, but I probably won't read them, and I probably will delete them, just letting you know. We are going to be interviewing the amazing, talented, and eclectic Saphira V coming up in about half an hour, 45 minutes, it just depends, discussing some interesting topics and hearing her perspective on this crazy thing called life and music. We are still playing shit tons of new underground music from independent artists, like local, international, regional, and national artists, unsigned. If you know of anybody who is like that or is in a project, send them my way. evolradio@outlook.com. That's evolradio@outlook.com. Coming up, actually, let me back up a little bit. That was Cyanotic, Sean Payne, who runs GlitchMode recordings. Very cool, very awesome, very talented person, good person too. Supporting industrial artists and just getting their art out there. We're also playing stuff from DSBP recordings, Distortion Productions, EDM Worldwide, as well as others. Always playing the biggest mix of the most dirty, heavy, danceable underground electronica, rock, metal, and industrial. You can catch us on, if you don't catch this broadcast, or if you want to hear, hear it again, you can catch us on WaxRadioIndy.com or 103.5 KLST Radio Kallisti, which is radiokallisti.org. You can also check us out on our YouTube channel or on Mixcloud. It's mixcloud.com/Evol Radio. As I was saying, we are playing all kinds of music. This is a project called Diverge. Tommy T, well known in industrial music in the scene, a really good dude, really talented, always supporting artists. This is his project, Diverge, DSBP Records, with their song Utilize Your Strength. Thank you for tuning in and keeping it evil. Enjoy. You are listening to Evol Radio Live. I'm your host, DJ Darkside. I want to take a minute and again thank each and every one of you for tuning in with me on this episode of Evol Radio Live. I'm your host, DJ Darkside, and we are playing a huge mix of the most dirty, heavy, danceable, underground, electronica rock, metal, and industrial, as always. Coming up in about 10-15 minutes, we're going to have an interview with Safira V. She is discussing some interesting topics, and we're hearing her perspective on this crazy thing called life and music. So stay tuned for that. We are going to bring you some more music entertainment news, this time from brutalresonance.com. They have been a hub for various dark electronic genres throughout the years, but an article says that they are launching their first release, Zwar Machine's new EP, Ripping at the Fabric, and we have an interview with them coming up. We play their single Be a Light all the time. They're really, really awesome. So the article goes on to say, throughout the years, Brutal Resonance has served as a hub for various dark electronic genres, homing in on the likes of the experimental and danceable nature of industrial music, the ominous and bleak landscapes of dark ambient and drone systems, to the 80s theme melodies found within synthwave and dark synth music, down to the dramatic and often delightfully sad outputs of post-punk and darkwave music. All our staff throughout the years have managed to find new favorites throughout the music and musicians from around the world that they have sent in. We owe it to them, and so do I, for keeping our humble little website interesting and wondrous. This is from brutalresonance.com. It says, we also owe it to the musicians for keeping our heads from spinning at times when the world seems like it's crashing. This is why, for the better part of 3 years, Brutal Resonance have been planning a course of action to turn the website into a part-time record label. There are so many great bands and musicians that Brutal Resonance have discovered that they would love to work with in the future. Multiple times over the course of writing for Brutal Resonance, this author, Stephen Galata, who's a really cool guy, says that he has found himself wondering, why aren't they signed, or better yet, I would love to have a physical copy of their album in my hand, and what better way to make sure that would happen than by crafting our own label and releasing music into the world. It is with this in mind that I am proud to announce the launch of Brutal Resonance Records, as well as our debut release. Many of you have probably heard of the mighty industrial mechanics of Zwar Machine in the past. We have covered Mock Fox's EBM flavored and old school influenced cold electronics for the past couple years. With that said, we will be releasing Zwar Machine's forthcoming EP, Ripping at the Fabric, on May 20th, 2020 in both digital and limited edition cassette format. You remember cassettes, like the little tapes that you put into the cassette player, the tape player? Stating that, there's no better way to announce an EP than by premiering the title track on our humble little website. Go to their website and check out Zwar Machine's single Ripping at the Fabric from their EP coming out May 20th, 2020. We're also going to look at sideline.com. This is about the band New Order, who became popular in the 80s. So the article says that New Order released first new track since 2015's album Music Complete and Power, Corruption, and Lies in the making. Blue Monday, followed by Confusion, Thieves Like Us, and Murder. You can go to sideline.com and check out this article. They have rescheduled tour dates. They are going on tour, obviously, with Pet Shop Boys. And there will also be a special one-off show in London on November 6th at the O2 Fest. So check that out. We are going to go to rivetingnews.org. It says the Cold Waves Festival is canceled due to the impending heat wave. It says Chicago, Illinois. Global warming has claimed its first victim in the industrial scene. The yearly music festival, Cold Waves, have been canceled due to public safety concerns after meteorologists have predicted a massive heat wave lasting well through autumn. This week will be cooler in Chicago, but the future beyond its 5-day forecast likely holds more temperature extremes than the city has experienced in its recorded history. Illinois State University meteorologist Frank Gallo warned NBC Chicago this week that recent record-breaking temperatures are not a new status quo. The new status quo will be worse. Here's the old normal. Here's the new normal, Gallo explained, demonstrating with upraised hands. Here's somewhere in between, but we haven't finished changing it. The high-pressure influx that drove thermometers mad across the state last weekend has not moved on from the region in spite of lower temperatures this week, Gallo adds. Yeah, you've seen what Hurricane Irma and Harvey have done. But wait until you see what this mother is going to do to the north. You thought you were safe up there? Not anymore. Get prepared to say goodbye to Eskimos. Jason Novak, founder of Crack Nation, had considered postponing until the winter months, but opted not to compete with the busy holiday season. Refunds will not be available to those who have purchased tickets due to the performers and venues having been paid upfront months in advance. Well, hooray for that. We're also going to look at an article on rivetingnews.org that says, it's a report, it says not every day is Halloween. I beg to differ. Every day is Halloween. It says industrial band Ministry is in hot water after a report has been released from the University of Chicago disputing the claims of their classic song, Every Day is Halloween. The 50-page report details top research conducted within the university's astronomy department for the past 2 years. All signs point to the contrary, says Director of Astronomical Studies George Kugler. The lunar calendar has 365 days per year, 366 days on a leap year. In all our tests, only one of these days has turned out to be Halloween. That's only 0.274% of the year as opposed to the 100th%, which Ministry claims is fact. So what's really staggering isn't just the fact that every day is not Halloween, but the fact that such a small fraction of the calendar year is actually Halloween. Fans have already begun reacting to the scandal, burning albums and memorabilia in the streets. A Change.org petition is circulating calling for the band's founding member, Al Jorgensen, to step down from his position. This is a real bummer, comments Seth Gorman, 23. Ministry really let me down, let all of us down. We've all been living this life thinking that every day was Halloween, and it turns out only one day is Halloween. I mean, what else have they been lying about? Did Jesus actually build his hot rod, or was that all a lie too? I don't know what's real anymore. I'm really disappointed. Ministry has not released an official statement yet, but several shows have been canceled by promoters featuring bad press. I'm just pulling your leg. This is actually a report from 2017, so, you know, that and the Cold Waves Festival, I'm just having a little fun with you. We are going to step away and take a little coffee break, and we are going to interview Saphira V with some of the stuff that she's been up to, and you know, if you don't know about her music, you should definitely check it out. It is just some of the most progressive and eclectic. It's atypical. She doesn't write like everybody else does, and so it makes it very it's a surprise, and I hope that you guys enjoy the interview with her. Thank you for keeping it evil on Evol Radio Live. Introduce yourself and let our listeners know about your band or your project.
Okay, so I am Saphira V, and I'm really a solo project, but one of the things that I really, really enjoy is collaborating.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a couple standing side projects. I have Venus Nikki and Notorious Eric Von T with Melanie Core, and I also have Collapse of Dawn with Upon Eventual Collapse. And then, I do a bunch of other ad hoc collaborations. I've got a couple singles that actually came out this week with people I collaborated with, and remixes, and a lot of work with other people, which I really enjoy.
Nice. I haven't yet played your single. I was waiting to do that for the interview, like to make it a feature, but I personally really love your music, and I love the collaborations that you've done. So tell us about your creative process and if it differs among your different projects.
Oh yeah, it absolutely does, because I found out, I didn't realize this when I first started doing it, but I found out that I write music very differently from a lot of other people. Most of the people that I work with will write all of the music first, and you and I actually talked about this before, Mike. We talked about how you write like all the music first and then put the vocals in, and most people actually do that, but I don't.
That's okay.
I don't write in that sort of linear fashion at all. I sort of write in chunks. So I'll do like an intro and maybe a verse, and then I'll insert some vocals in there, and then I'll sort of build the song, and I won't do the verse in its entirety. I'll just like have an idea, like a bass line and a beat or something like that. I usually start with a beat anyways. And then I'll sort of build the song around my vocal melody that, was sort of inspired by whatever music I had, little bits of music that I had put down first. But I almost never, I tried to do it once and it felt weird. I almost never write all of the music first and then add the vocals later. Now that's my process. When I work with Melody Hoare, he usually presents me with an entire bed of music, and I just come up with vocals on top of that. Sometimes I send some music to him. It's usually not complete. He'll mess around with it and kind of complete it, and then maybe we'll both do vocals. Some of our songs are duets, so that, that it just depends on what we're doing really vocally. And same with Collapse of Dawn. Chris Wilburn will, and that's upon eventual collapse, Chris Wilburn will, present me with a finished song in terms of music, and again, I just sort of add vocals on top. And most of my collaborators do that, but I don't do that at all. It feels unnatural for me. It's very difficult for me. I really like to write the music around my vocal ideas first. I feel like, the vocal ideas are where like obviously where the main melody is from, and just where the main vibe is from, where the words are from, whatever I'm feeling that I'm writing. So I like to sort of, orchestrate the music around that.
Yeah, I get you. I think that probably the way that you write is, as opposed to like this linear process, probably helps you be a little more unique and individual as opposed to everybody else, and I really like that.
I've been told that. I've been called quirky, experimental, and I'm not offended by any of this. I'm more than happy to not be like everybody else. But yeah, I think that's what I've been told, that geez, in your songs, what comes next is never what I expected,
Yeah.
And again, I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah, I think that's very refreshing in a world where, like, there's so much oversaturation and everything is kind of a copy of a copy of a copy. That uniqueness really makes you stand out, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, so from what I've heard, you have a few different styles among your collaborations and your projects. Are there any hidden meanings in any of your music?
Well, each album and EP has kind of had a little bit of a theme. And same with my two standing collaborations. So I kind of started. Well, I should probably let me back up a little bit and explain about myself. And again, I think you and I have spoken personally about this, but I started doing music again about 18-ish months ago, maybe a little bit more, maybe like 20 months. Previous to that, I was raising kids. So I had like a, 15, 17-year break from music, and I was doing music back in the 90s. So when I got back into it, I'm a very big fan of science fiction, and I was trying to think of what am I doing? What's my shtick here? What am I doing? What's my motivation here? So I decided to kind of roll a little bit of the sci-fi thing. And if you look at some of my bios that I have in various places, you'll see that I say that the fear of me is me and the machines that help me create music. And it really is, like I'm half woman, half machine type thing. But it's like so true, I mean, I don't I have a bass. I never play it. I usually use bass samples and, I'm sequencing them in my DAW. So it's, it is really machine-made music, but with a human element behind it. So my first EP, The Traveler, it came out about 1.5 years ago. That was all science fiction based, and it was a story of a time traveler who had a very difficult time understanding their identity, obviously, because they lived in so many different times, and sometimes they were one person, sometimes they were another person. They just they had no identity at all.
Yeah.
So in this story, they you're kind of introduced to them in that way, and then they're sort of looking for somewhere to live, and they find a planet to live, and oh no, it blows up. So they have to leave that planet, and then they end up somewhere else, and they're not happy because they're not being heard. They don't feel like they actually exist. They're being ignored.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, the fourth song is called Home Now. That was like a really kind of a popular song for me. Like obviously not for someone who's famous, but for me. And that's okay. I found where I belong, basically.
Yeah.
So that was all science fiction based. But then I started deviating from that and getting more into sort of the meaning of things. And so Missing Pieces was, all the songs were about things that were missing in people's lives. One song was about missing communication, missing understanding, missing, the song Why is about missing decency, about people who hate, Yeah. And I also did a cover on that one. While a Voodoo cover called Lost Weekend, it was from the 1981 or 82 called the West album, the one that had Mexican radio on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a song about a couple leaving Las Vegas after having gambled away everything they owned. And so to me that song was about a lack of control,
Yeah.
So that's what Missing Pieces was about. And then my last album, My Game, was probably my most personal album to date.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really about me and the games I've played in life and the sort of the strategies I've had in life and things that I've had to deal with in life. Other people that maybe made my life difficult or whatever, difficult relationships. So that was sort of the theme of that one. It was very personal.
Yeah.
Then there's my remix. I've got remix albums, But yeah, so there's kind of a theme for every album. The next album is called The Mask. It's not about COVID. If you've seen my what I'm playing around with for the album cover, I've got the Greek comedy tragedy mask that I'm kind of messing around with.
Yeah, I think that's
the album cover.
I think that's a really cool concept.
Oh, yeah. Well, I ordered a couple of them. They're white. I'm going to paint them some color and do something with them. And I'll probably be in there somewhere in the album cover. As long as I'm not completely decrepit looking yet, I'll probably still keep putting my face on my album cover.
Yeah.
So yeah. So there's some different stuff going on in that and on that album too. That one's not done yet. I'm actually completing the last couple tracks right now. Actually, today I was working on one. And as I finish them, Jules Seifert from Armalite is mixing and mastering that one for me.
Very cool. Very cool. He's such a talented guy.
Amazing. I mean, the stuff I give him, I give him a rough mix.
Yeah.
And then what he gives back to me is just, it's mind-blowing. I'm just so happy to be working with him. He just, it's so easy for him. He hears it, he knows what he wants, and he does it. And, I've loved everything he's given back to me. So I'm definitely hoping I could work with him again after this.
Now, we talked about some of the stuff that you're currently working on. Do you have any plans to go play that live?
Not at this time, although I see that people I know are have were before COVID, out there gigging, and, they're planning to do it again, hopefully in 2021, and I of course used to, when I was doing music in the 90s, but we were playing at bars every single weekend. I mean, there was a gig couple gigs every single week, and rehearsals, most nights a week, and it was pretty rigorous. So I have a pretty good understanding of what it means to play out. Yeah. And if I were to do it, I don't have any definitive plans at this time, but if I were to do it, I'd want to do it with some sort of a band, maybe not like a full, 5-piece band, but, like a live drummer, a live guitarist, a live bass player, or, certainly a keyboard player, maybe at least 2 or 3 people on stage with me. But that's a lot of commitment, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of coordination. I don't know if I actually would even have the time for it right now. Yeah. I think I will probably more so down the road. So it's definitely not out of the question. I definitely miss just, the rush of the fun of playing out. Yeah. But I would want to get a band together, and so, it's when you're in this day when you can work with anybody around the world doing collaborations when you're recording, it's like it's so easy to get like a virtual quote unquote band together, to get a bunch of people together and do some music. Yeah. It's not that easy when you're playing out because they gotta be local people. Right. I mean unless you're someone who's fairly famous and can cherry pick people from all over the world and everyone's going to fly out, obviously that's not our situation. So it would have to be fairly local people. So that's another challenge. Are there 2-3 people in, I live in Western New York that even get what I do enough that they would want to, play out with me. So there's, obviously understand what's involved, so I'm being very cautious about, getting my hopes up for doing it anytime soon. Yeah. But I wouldn't mind doing it ultimately.
Now, one of the things that became really popular with COVID that wasn't really prominent before is live streaming. Like, do you have any plans to do something like that after you release your album?
Not yet, although I wouldn't rule that out either. I actually did do for Radio Wigwam in the UK, actually did do a live version of Lost Weekends for them. Very cool. Because they have this thing called Lockdown Lounge, and they asked various artists that they play on the station to do a cover song. And I already had that one loaded up in my DAW, Yeah. So I just kind of played that, but I sang live, sang along with it.
That's very cool.
It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. So that's something I've been watching people do, and I wouldn't rule that out either. But again, it would be nice to do that with a band.
Yeah. For me, it's like, I've been a musician, I've been a DJ, and like being on stage is a rush, like you said. But just I miss that, and this kind of thing, and doing Evol Radio, and especially being able to live stream, like that is just like being back on stage because you have an audience that's watching, and you can go through technical difficulties live on the air, and you have to really figure them out like instantaneously, or you're going to lose like listeners and viewers and all that stuff. So it's kind of like the same kind of thrill, which I love. Let's see. What do you like to do outside of music that contributes to your musicality, like a hobby or something that you do to relax or rejuvenate?
I don't have a ton of time to do anything for the music because I work full time. Yeah. Obviously, I'm an IT person, and I have 2 kids. Single mom, so I'm kind of busy running them around. But I do take out some time absolutely to work out every day. I have a pool, so I swim when it's warm enough to swim here. And between April and October, I try and keep my pool open for 6 months, which is, most people tell me that's crazy for Western New York, but I've got a heater, so yeah. you know, I like to, every night, I get in that pool and I just probably spend about a half hour just swimming around, and that's really kind of like me time,
Yeah.
you know, and I get some really great ideas, like, sometimes even when I've got writer's block, I'm just not sure what to do, I'll go for a swim because it just kind of unlocks my brain a little bit, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely, I like to keep fit, both, you know, for the physical benefit, but absolutely the mental benefit as well.
Yeah, I think that is an important part of art and especially life that people forget is like mental health, and you know, that's been like a focus of mine for a long time, and I try to do like a mental health minute and everything on the show, so it's definitely good to hear that.
Oh yeah, I need that. If I don't get my workout time, and you know, there's times where I've been injured, you know, a knee, a hamstring, whatever. I mean, it happens when you work out a lot. I really notice it. You know, if I have to kind of take it easy, I still try and find things that I can, like low impact things that I can do. Swimming is one of them, but you know, obviously in the winter it's not possible here.
Yeah.
But I definitely notice the difference when I haven't taken the time to work out.
So one question that I forgot to ask earlier is go over like some of your influences or some of the music that has inspired you to kind of make the art that you make.
I'm going to say probably my earliest influence as a child was Motown. I love Motown.
Very cool.
And, you know, the Jackson 5, the Supremes. I still listen to the Jackson 5. I just, the vocalist and just the groove and just everything about it, the whole feel. So that was probably like my first really serious influence. As I got older, I remember being a kid and watching Saturday Night Live when I was a child, and they, especially in the early days, they always had like these, I'm going to say kind of undergroundish type acts on the show. So one of which was David Bowie. He wasn't necessarily underground at the time, but you know, he wasn't also necessarily completely mainstream either. And so I remember seeing him perform TVC15 live with Klaus Nomi, and that just hit me like a ton of bricks. It just he's such a showman, you know. I really miss him, David Bowie. So that was huge. That was a revelation for me. But you know, I mean, I also saw bands like, you know, Devo doing Satisfaction, and you know, Elvis Costello doing Watching the Detectives, and that got my early sort of taste in sort of punk and new wave going when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So you know, it's funny because my sister was only about a year and a half older than me. She was like straight like Aerosmith, Led Zeppelin, right? So she'd have that like cranking out her bedroom, and I'd have like, you know, Bowie and Kraftwerk cranking out of my bedroom. So that's sort of the path that I went down, and again, Kraftwerk, another tremendous influence. Not necessarily from a synth perspective, but I love the way they composed their tracks. You know, songs like Europe Endless and Trans-Europe Express. Just if you just listen to the composition, it's just and I really do love classical music as well. I'm a big fan of Baroque. I played violin as a kid. I love Vivaldi. So I have, you know, tons and tons of different influences, you know, through my childhood, and you know, as an adult, I started listening to industrial music really when it was just kind of starting out, the whole Wax Trax era, and that's one influence that's just, you know, stuck with me. It's even if you hear a song of mine that isn't necessarily industrial, straight up industrial, you'll hear those elements in there. It's always with me, you know, and I don't even notice when I'm doing it. Other people like point it out to me. So that was huge for me. Like, you know, Ministry and Front 242 and Frontline Assembly. You know, just tons of bands I could rattle off there. You know, so I honestly just draw on all of them when I write, you know. There isn't really one predominant one anymore.
No, I get you. You mentioned Motown, and like I love that style of music too, where there was less technology and everything was kind of like you really had to put the work in and had to be a good singer, and you know, like the musicians that played on the backing tracks, like those were real musicians. There was like not all this computer technology, and I think that just made it feel a little different, like more organic, I guess. But you know, like even the new industrial stuff, like I don't know. I'm the same way. I take influences from everything, and I try to mix, you know, that like old school, like and. As an aside, my girlfriend's kind of getting me into like Michael Jackson and Jackson 5 and all that stuff that I wasn't really into previously, and you know, it's like everything I hear I love, you know, so I can definitely agree with you on that. But it's good to, you know, take that like old school and mix it with the new school, and I think like combined with the way that you write, you know, it makes, like I said before, it makes your music really unique and interesting, and it's refreshing because I don't think anybody else is out there doing that.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there are some fairly contemporary performers who I was pleasantly surprised that they're doing something kind of different. Billie Eilish is one of them.
Yes. Yeah.
I have a daughter who's a huge fan of Billie Eilish, but I knew about Billie before she did, so and I keep on telling her, you know, your mom's way cooler than you. Yeah,
Cool.
I mean, what I like about her and her brother, who, you know, writes the music with her,
Yeah.
they take a very minimalist approach, and some of their melody lines are, you know, kind of quirky and almost a little hokey, but it really, really works, you know. And of course, she has a very interesting voice. You know, it's not your typical. She's not a belter.
Yeah.
You know, neither am I.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, but, you know, there are some people out there doing it, but I'll tell you, you know, she had obviously some help in getting recognized with, you know, having a family like she had that was involved in Hollywood and whatnot. So you know, it's great, but you know, if you're not in that position, it could really work against you because, you know, I don't have that type of, I don't have those type of people advocating for me.
Yeah.
I have to do it all on my own, and just hope that what I'm doing kind of, you know, touches a nerve with people enough where they're going to listen and they're going to tell other people, because that's all I can hope for right now is, you know, some sort of, you know, word of mouth, really.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't have the money to promote myself as heavily as people like that.
Well, I think word of mouth goes a long way as far as marketing and promoting, because that's somebody's personal, you know, like that's their reputation that they're putting on the line, and telling somebody else like, hey, this person is really good, you should check them out. You know, they have meaning in their music, and like I said, I think that goes such a long way as opposed to, you know, like paying for you know, putting out like a Facebook ad or like an ad on social media.
Yeah.
And it's like part of what I love about Evol Radio is getting to help artists like you and, you know, different people who are doing everything they can to, you know, put out this great art and, you know, expose it to people. And, you know, I'm more than happy to help. Like, I get excited about that stuff.
Good, yeah. I mean, I'm right with you there, because, you know, I have my own, well, not my own radio show, it's really Melody Horse radio show, you know, Situation 47, that you've actually helped us with, about syndication.
Yeah.
WaxRadio Indy. And that's, you know, I mean, that's, you know, one of our goals on that show is, we do play some of the more established artists.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, we play Nights Are Out and Ministry and all that. But, you know, at the same time, we're playing a ton of indie. I mean, we play more, you know, definitely the same amount, if not more indie than we're playing anything else on that show. But we have a pretty good pipeline, because there's, you know, people that we know on Facebook and Twitter, and we get to know more people through more people through more people. So it's, you know, it's been easy for us to find really, really quality music. you know, just from all the independents that we know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're all about helping the scene and, you know, raising everybody up.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to get somewhere is together, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm actually getting I got to get out of here. So if you have anything else to add, like social media links or Bandcamp or anything like that, like now would probably be a good time to do it.
Let me hang on a second. Let me get in front of my computer here.
That's
So
okay.
on Twitter, I'm just at Saphira_music. Bandcamp, I think it's just Bandcamp Saphira V, you know, just your typical artist page. And then on Facebook, I am, facebook.com/Saphira.v. So
Okay.
you can find out what I'm doing from any of those places. I think I'm on Instagram too, but I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to it. I'm also on YouTube,
Yeah.
youtube.com/V/Saphira official. But you can just Google Saphira V on YouTube, and it'll get you there as well.
Okay, well, the only other thing I really have to add is I'd like for you to do a sweeper, and I'll send you a script, and you can either mix your own music in with it, or, you know, you can just like record it on your phone and send it to me, and I'll put some of your music into it. But
I sent.
oh, that's right, you did. My bad.
Yeah.
Bad about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll definitely get that worked on, and then I'll play it this week, but this interview will probably go next Thursday. So I'll be doing like some graphics and stuff like that for you, and I'll send them to you as soon as I'm done.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, let me know for sure when you're gonna. But you'll have it on YouTube, right?
yeah, it's YouTube and Mixcloud and like all over the live stream and all that stuff. So it's everywhere.
Cool.
Yeah. So I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule, being a single mom and everything, to do this interview for me, and to let the listeners kind of get a little bit more of a personal look into your creative process when it comes to making your awesome art.
Well, thank you, Michael. I appreciate your, supporting me on this. Melody Horn, I really appreciate you hooking us up with Rob Cowderman. So
Yeah.
we'll do this together.
Yeah, I would love to just have like a whole kind of network that's just, people like us doing our thing, and I think that's one of my goals in the next couple years. So I'll always support you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Well, like I said, I appreciate you taking the time out, and I'll talk to you over Facebook if that.
All right, thanks.
I want to take a moment and say thank you to Saphira V for having that interview with us. We're going to feature her new song, her new single, Too Many. Thank you for tuning in on our live streams. Thank you for keeping it evil with me.
This is Saphira V, and you're listening to my single Too Many on Evol Radio Live with your host, DJ Darkside.
Too many thoughts as I sit here and get drunk.
listening to Evol Radio Live. I'm your host, DJ Darkside. I want to say again, as always, thank you to everybody tuning in on the live streams, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, LinkedIn, Periscope, Instagram Live, all over social media, Mixcloud, YouTube, like I said. We're also syndicated on Radio Kallisti 103.5 KLST and WaxRadio Indy, which is waxradioindy.com. Check it out. We're also restreaming the audio portion on Mixcloud. So that was our interview with Saphira V and her single Too Many. She is such a talented artist and a great person, and I'm definitely grateful for her for taking time out of her busy schedule. We actually are trying to do a lot more interviews with some of the musicians and artists that we feature on the show. We have Ayatoya coming up next week, and then after that, Spank the Nun, and they have a very special album coming out with the proceeds to benefit cancer. So we are going to be doing more of that. Hopefully you enjoy them. And you know, like I said, I just am grateful to everybody tuning in. You make me feel really blessed and lucky to live the life that I do, and to be able to share all of this awesome music with you and to just help artists out. And I definitely appreciate your time and your your effort into listening and tuning in. If you know somebody who would benefit from this broadcast and a live stream, be sure to send them our way at Evol Radio. We are trying to take this from the underground and get it syndicated on some commercial radio stations. So if you can help us out by going and liking our pages or subscribing or any of that, or even sharing it, it would be very, very greatly appreciated. We are going to get back to the music on this episode with a project that I mentioned before we're interviewing called Spank the Nun. This is their song, Sin. Thank you for keeping it evil.
The paradox, waging war to regain thy praise, is worth dying for. At least that's what all factually believe. But you and I both know that when this ends, there'll be no winners. Only survival. Only survivors. We almost.
Ah. Technical difficulties. Well. Sorry about the dead air. We are trying to play a song by Hexadiode. We interviewed them last week, and it was a good interview. Unfortunately, I'm not getting their song to play. There we go. This is Hexadiode with their song Metaxy. Evol Radio Live, CincyUnderground.com. Thanks for keeping it evil. You are listening to Evol Radio Live. I'm your host, DJ Darkside. That was Hexadiode with their single Metaxy from their album Metaxy. And if you did not get a chance to listen to the interview last week, it was awesome. They are some really, really talented, good people, Tim and Jonas from Hexadiode. They're from Dayton, Ohio, and they are ranked like in the top 10 in industrial music of all the projects out today. So, we love to help and sponsor and do anything we can to get these really talented music artists out to just blast out globally around the world. All these people that put so much time and energy into their art and sacrifice, and basically what you hear when you're hearing their music is you're hearing a piece of their soul. This is Suicide Prevention Month, and it's very important that if you are feeling like you shouldn't be around anymore, talk to somebody, reach out, please, because you matter and you are important, and you're also not alone. We are going to take a moment away from the music and do a mental health minute, as we always do, because what's in your brain and what's in your head and your emotions and your psychology, it's important, and it's something that is probably neglected in the United States. There's a stigma about it that if you go and talk to a therapist, you're crazy, and that's not true. It's a part of who people are, and some people go through a lot of stuff that they can't necessarily deal with on their own. So we're going to look at a couple articles about suicide, since it is Suicide Month. And by the way, I want to mention the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. If you don't feel like reaching out to your friends, and if you're struggling with suicidal thoughts and you feel like you don't want to be around anymore, reach out. Hit me up. I will always be there for you, always, because like I said, you matter and you are important, and I love you. And that might be weird, but that doesn't make it any less true. So the Suicide Prevention Lifeline number is 1-800-273-8255. You can also go to their website, suicidepreventionlifeline.org, and click the chat button if you don't feel like talking to someone on the phone. These people don't get paid. They're volunteers, and they are probably people who have gone through suicidal thoughts and suicidal tendencies, not the band, their whole life. And they just want to be there to help somebody else stay alive. It's something that I have dealt with for as long as I can remember, and within the last year I've tried 5 times. Obviously I'm meant for life and to have a meaningful existence and to help other people, and that's also part of the reason that I do this mental health minute. So we are going to look at ScienceDaily.com. As always, I really love the site. It's informative. This article is from May 7th, 2008. It said, child abuse may mark genes in the brains of suicide victims. This is a study conducted by McGill University. A team of McGill University scientists has discovered important differences between the brains of suicide victims and so-called normal brains. Although the genetic sequence was identical in the suicide and non-suicide brains, there were differences in their epigenetic markings, a chemical coding influenced by environmental factors. All of the 13 suicide victims in the study had experienced abuse as children. It's possible the changes in epigenetic markers were caused by the exposure to childhood abuse. Although in humans it's difficult to establish causality between early childhood and epigenetic markers in the ways we have established this in animal subjects, says a professor in the McGill's Department of Pharmacology and Therapeutics. The big remaining questions are whether scientists could detect similar changes in blood DNA, which could lead to diagnostic tests, and whether we could design interventions to erase these differences in epigenetic markings. In the first study of its kind, a professor in the Department of Pharmacology and Therapeutics, who practices at the Douglas Hospital, skipping all these weird names. They are basically in the research study. They're the scientists that are leading the research study. You can go to ScienceDaily.com and check out who exactly it is. Anyway, the article also says epigenetics is the study of changes in the function of genes that don't involve changes in the sequences of DNA. The DNA is inherited from our parents. It remains fixed throughout life and is identical in every part of the body. During gestation, which is, like before the child is born, let's see, where were we at? However, the genes in our DNA are marked by a chemical coding called DNA methylation. These marks are somewhat sensitive to one's environment, especially early in life. The epigenetic marks punctuate the DNA and program it to express the right genes at the appropriate time and place. The researchers examined a set of genes that code for small r RNA, a basic component of the machinery that creates proteins in cells. Protein synthesis is critical for learning, memory, and the building of new connections in the brain. It can affect decision-making and other behavior. The scientists found that rRNA can be regulated epigenetically. In previous studies in laboratory rats, the group proved that simple maternal behaviors during early childhood has a profound effect on genes and behaviors in ways that are sustained throughout life. However, these effects on gene expression and stress responses can also be reversed in adult life through treatment known to affect the genomic marking known as DNA methylation. You can check out more on ScienceDaily.com. Like I said, that is the article entitled "Child Abuse May Mark Genes in the Brains of Suicide Victims." We are also going to look at one that is from July 27th, 2020, about lithium in drinking water linked with lower suicide rates. And personally, I think I would rather have lithium in the water than like fluoride or any of the other weird stuff. This is from a study conducted by the University of Sussex in England. It says naturally occurring lithium in public drinking water, naturally occurring, not put in there by people who are on medication. And that's currently something that the current filters and water treatment plants don't filter out. So you might be, if you drinking water from the tap, you might be getting other people's medication. Anyway, naturally occurring lithium in public drinking water may have an anti-suicidal effect. Published in the British Journal of Psychiatry, the study collated research from around the world and found that geographical areas with relatively high levels or concentration of lithium in public drinking water had correspondingly lower suicide rates. And lithium is a naturally occurring material. They mine it out of the earth, so it's not like it's a synthesized medication. The professor, who is a chair in epidemiology and public health at Brighton and Sussex Medical School, BSMS, and lead author of the study said, "It is promising that higher levels of trace lithium in drinking water may exert an anti-suicidal effect and have the potential to improve community mental health," which is something that should be a priority anyway. The prevalence of mental health conditions and national suicide rates are increasing in many countries. Worldwide, check this out, worldwide, over 800,000 people die by suicide every year. And suicide is the leading cause of death among persons aged 15 to 24 years. That's crazy. That's crazy. In these unprecedented times of COVID-19 pandemic and the consequent increase in the incidence of mental health conditions, accessing ways to improve community mental health and reduce the incidence of anxiety, depression, and suicide is ever more important. He's got a point there. I think it's something that people deal with, especially with social isolation and not being able to get out and hang out with friends. Lithium, sometimes referred to as the magic ion, is widely and effectively used as a medication for the treatment and prevention of manic and depressive episodes, stabilizing mood and reducing the risk of suicide in people with mood disorders. Its anti-aggression properties can help reduce impulsivity, aggression, violent criminal behavior, and chronic substance abuse. Check this out. Lithium is a naturally occurring element and is found in variable amounts in vegetables, grains, spices, and drinking water. So you might already be eating it, consuming it, ingesting it. It just depends. It is present in trace amounts in virtually all rocks and is mobilized by weathering into soils, ground, and standing water, and thus into the public water supply. The article says it's not something that anyone is adding, it just occurs naturally. The health benefits and curative powers of naturally occurring lithium in water have been known for centuries. The Lithia Springs, an ancient Native American sacred medicinal spring with its natural lithium-enriched water, is renowned for its health-giving properties. In fact, In fact, the popular soft drink 7-Up contained lithium when it was created in 1929. Recent studies have also linked lithium to reduce incidence of Alzheimer's disease and other dementias. This raises the potential for its preventative use to combat the risk of dementia. Professor Alan Young, chair of mood disorders at King's College London, said, "This synthesis and analysis of all available evidence confirms previous findings of some individual studies and shows a significant relationship between higher lithium levels in drinking water and lower suicide rates in the community. The levels of lithium in drinking water are far lower than those recommended when lithium is used as medicine, although the duration of exposure may be far longer, potentially starting at conception. These findings are also consistent with the finding in clinical trials that lithium reduces suicide and related behaviors in people with a mood disorder." The article goes on and explains more stuff. You can read it on ScienceDaily.com. Like I said, this is Suicide Prevention Month, and it is something that I take very seriously. First of all, because I've dealt with it, but second of all, because your life matters. You're not alone. I want you to know that if you're listening. If you have friends who you haven't heard from in a while, check in with them. Take 30 seconds out of your day and check in with them. Make sure they're okay. If they have something that they need to get off their chest, make sure you know that you are available to listen. It is a basic psychological need of everybody to be heard and to be able to express themselves. And when someone is not having those needs met, it becomes a very permanent solution to a very temporary problem. And trust me, I know about it. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, the number 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255. You can also go to their website, suicidepreventionlifeline.org. They have a chat button if you get anxious about talking on the phone. Reach out to them and chat. You and your life are important, and you can make a difference. If you're a little lost in life, just reach out. Hit me up on my Facebook page. I'm always available. We're going to get back to the music. That has been your Mental Health Minute. We are going to be playing, let's see here. What are we going to play? What do you want to hear? We're going to play, this is a band from Muncie, Indiana called Hell Came Home with their song Blinded. Evol Radio Live, CincyUnderground.com, social media live streams. Thanks for keeping it evil.
Jen
and Nick
from the band Trauma Bond.
and you're listening to
Evol Radio Live on CincyUnderground.com with your host, DJ Darkside.
Dead air. Technical difficulty. CincyUnderground.com. Live, local, lit. listening to Evol Radio Live. I'm your host, DJ Darkside. That, unfortunately, is the end of our broadcast. I could keep going, but my time is up. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning into the live streams on Instagram Live, on Restream.io, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, LinkedIn, Periscope, blah, blah, blah. You can check us out on, the rebroadcast is on WaxRadioIndy.com, Saturdays from, I think, 12 to 2. I'm not sure if that's AM or PM. And on 103.5 KLST Radio Kallisti, which is radiokallisti.org. You can also check out the complete show, both audio and video, on YouTube. And you can catch the audio portion on Mixcloud. Look us up on social media. It's /EVOL Radio. You can also check us out on Facebook. It's /EVOL Radio. And if you like what you hear, if you want to hear anything, if you want to leave us a comment about any of the articles or anything, leave us a comment. I would greatly appreciate it because you have every right to be heard and your voice matters. Be sure to check out the candidates for the election. Seriously, get out and vote. It is your right as an American citizen to, whether or not you think your opinion matters, it does. And you have every right and you should exercise it. Also, be sure to be kind to each other. You know, wear your masks. Wear your masks. Use your hand sanitizer. You know, be good to yourself and be good to each other. This is DJ Darkside. Very grateful for you taking time out of your busy schedule to tune in to the most dirty, heavy, danceable, underground electronica, rock, metal, and industrial. Thank you very much, sincerely, for keeping it evil. I love you. Ladies and gentlemen, I really hate to do it, but my time with you is up. I have to leave you for a bit and let you continue to explore and find your own path. But don't worry, I'll be back here again soon to stroll through musical landscapes with the most dirty, heavy, danceable, underground and above ground electronica, rock, metal, and industrial. I want to thank you again for tuning in to Evol Radio with me on my episodes. This is DJ Darkside saying, keep it evil. Evol Radio is a God King Studios production.